I know what I should be doing, but I just can't seem to stick to the weight loss plan, and it's so frustrating. Does that sound familiar? Well, in this video, I'm going to reveal to you one of the biggest invisible barriers that I think has been self-sabotaging you probably for the last 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 years or more. And when I reveal it to you, you're going to smile, because it's the sort of thing that I've been coaching my clients through now for well over a decade, and it's helped them to achieve some pretty remarkable results. And I think this same information can help you to not only stay on track with your weight loss, but also be able to maintain it long term. Let's dive in.
I'm 50 years old. I had tried probably just about all the diets out there.
Okay, just before I reveal this invisible hidden barrier that's been sabotaging you for the last 10, 20 or 30 years or more, let's just first of all deal with how women typically deal with weight loss. And I suspect this will apply to you as well, and please do comment below if you followed any of these steps. So typically most women will say, okay, I need to lose some weight. They will approach it from a dietary point of view. They'll either go keto, fasting, low carb, or any of the other sort of dietary approaches out there that you may have tried. And my guess is you've probably tried quite a few different ways to lose weight. And that makes perfect logical sense to look at what you're eating. Why? Because we know that if we're overeating and we cut back on the amount of food we're eating, in theory, we should lose weight. And you may have also added in some exercise as well. Maybe you've started walking a bit further, or just walking in general. Maybe you've done some sort of exercise class, Pilates, yoga, or something of that nature. You may even have thought about joining a gym, or maybe you have joined a gym and even worked with a personal trainer, but still, here you are finding yourself in that frustrating position of thinking, why is it I just can't seem to stay on track with this weight loss thing? I've cracked everything else in my life, I've got a good family life, maybe I've got a great career, but this weight loss thing just keeps on eluding me. So let me share with you now what this invisible barrier is. And when I share it with you, you're going to smile because it's so obvious, but maybe you've never looked at it quite in the same way I'm going to be describing it right now. It's what I call the weight loss calendar. What's the weight loss calendar? Well, it's pretty obvious really. If you look at the calendar year and you look at some set dates in that calendar, things like Christmas, Easter, birthdays, anniversaries, other important events that are coming up, weddings maybe, there's always something in the calendar that's going to be coming up. And guess what? At all of those events, what's central to it? Food, 9 times out of 10. And 9 times out of 10, the food that's available is food that's probably out of your control in terms of what you are presented with to eat. So that can lead to some real challenging situations. Here's the thing about human behavior. We tend to, this is what the research says out there, we can go through the whole day pretty much operating on 90% automatic pilot. That is, we can wake up in the morning, from waking up right through to the end of play, and we can do pretty much everything on automatic pilot. We can wake up, brush our teeth, we don't think about how we're brushing our teeth, we can comb our hair, not that I've got much, we can get in the car, drive to work and not really recall the journey we've taken because we've done it so many times. We can go and do our job, that's on automatic pilot. We come home, automatic pilot. So all of these things can be done on automatic pilot, and that's a good thing, because if we had to think about every single thing that we did, that would become really mentally taxing. But guess what? That same mindset approach of being automatic applies to the weight loss calendar and all of these events that are coming up in your diary. Let's say it's a special anniversary you're going to, and it's a meal out at a restaurant. Your default setting, your automatic setting might be you go there without even thinking about it. You have the starter, the main course and the pudding. You don't even give it a second thought. And then you come away from that thinking, damn, I've sabotaged myself again. So how do I coach my clients? How do I advise my clients to sort of overcome and get around and navigate the way through the weight loss calendar? Well, I'll give you an example. One of my clients, Rachel, literally just started with me. The same week she started with me, that weekend she had a girlies weekend coming up. Now, Rachel, by her own admission, said she was a bit of a beer monster, which is unusual for most women to be drinking beer. They tend not to, but she was a beer drinker. I said, okay, tell me a bit more about that. She said, well, Eric, I'll drink at least 4 to 5 beers on probably, each day. So I get there Friday night, that's probably 3 beers. Saturday, that's definitely 4 or 5 beers. Sunday, Sunday night, I come back Monday, another 4 or 5 beers. That's a lot of beers I'll be drinking. I said, okay, fine. So we discussed it, and I said, look, rather than going into the weekend and saying you're not going to drink any beers, can you be a little bit better than what you normally are? I'm not saying you need to be perfect, but can you be a little bit better? Well, anyway, long story short, she came back the following week. She'd lost 3 pounds, and she was absolutely delighted. I said, okay, tell me more about the weekend. She said, well, you know what? I didn't drink a thing, or hardly drank. I think she said she hardly drank a thing over the weekend. So you may be thinking at this point, so just by having that conversation, Eric, she went away and didn't drink anything or hardly drunk. Well, not quite. Here's what I think happened. And here's what happens in sports as well, by the way. You may recall the tennis player John McEnroe. I once heard him saying that before he hit the ball, he would visualize the stroke he wanted to hit. And that allowed his body to almost condition itself. So when the ball did come to him, it wasn't the first time he was hitting it. He'd already subconsciously done that action. Because apparently his subconscious mind can't determine what's actually happening versus what you visualized. Think about the last time you worried about something that didn't actually happen and how it made your body feel. So I think what happened with Rachel was, because she'd pre-rehearsed it, when the event actually happened, she had some choices. And this is key to understand. Normally she would have gone into that weekend and been on automatic pilot and just drank the beer. But because we'd had the conversation, she now had the ability to be aware, not go into automatic pilot, be more on manual control, and she made the decision not to drink as much. So I think in part it was down to the fact she was now aware of what she was doing, more aware, but also I believe she attached the behavior that she wanted to do to the goal she was trying to achieve. And Rachel went on and actually took off just over 4 stone in weight by applying this simple technique, amongst other techniques that I coach people through, to her success. So how does this apply to you, and what can you do in your situation? So here's what I'd recommend you should seriously consider. Take a look at your calendar, only for the next month. Don't go too far ahead of time, otherwise it becomes too overwhelming. And just think, right, what's coming up over the next month for me? And then just start to think about how you would normally behave in that situation. Let's say, again, you go into a restaurant, that's an easy one. And let's say you would normally have starter, main course and pudding. Well, maybe visualize yourself just having the main course and the pudding, or maybe just having the starter and the main course and no pudding. And just run that through your mind's eye and see how that would feel. So when you are in that situation, you will then go, oh, I've got a choice. Now, am I saying this is 100% foolproof? It always works? No, I'm not. Nothing's 100%. But at least it gives you an opportunity to put yourself into a situation where you can make a conscious choice rather than just going into automatic pilot and just eating, then afterwards thinking, back to what I said earlier, why can't I stick to my plan? It's so frustrating. I know what I should be doing. I know I shouldn't have eaten that. Well, it's probably because you're living on automatic pilot. Now, if what I'm speaking about in this video resonates with you and you want to speak to somebody and work with somebody who doesn't just talk about calories and exercises, but talks about some of these real life things that are going on in your life that are sabotaging you, and other things that you could be doing differently to make your weight loss journey so much more successful, so much more sustainable, then look, click on the link below this video, book in, let's have a call. It's a free chat. There's nothing to buy on the call. It's literally just a fact-finding mission where, you know, I'm going to ask you a few questions about your situation. You're going to ask me a few questions about my program. There's nothing to buy. And if we both think there's a possibility we could work together, we'd then set up a second call and have a more detailed conversation.